Good morning, seventh grade. I understand that you are wanting to talk to me a bit about dress code for next year and are wanting to maybe even argue with me a bit about it. I wanted to make sure that you had all of the information before you jumped into your writing piece. And that is the main reason behind our dress code. So our dress code is the way it is mainly because of fundraising. What you may not understand is that within school finance, it's not a situation where the school has one big checking account and we can just cut checks for whatever, whenever, okay, to pay for different things. We have all different types of money. So we have Section 6 money, Title I money, Fund 22, Title II money, ESS money, ESSER money. So we have all these different pockets of money. And within each of those, there are very, very strict guidelines as to how we can spend that money. And so then within some of those different categories of money, there are other sub-accounts underneath that. So for example, within our Section 6 money, we have different activity accounts. So every single club, every single sports team, every house, every grade level has their own individual account that they can spend money from. They can put money in, they can spend it from there. We have one account called student activities, student activity account, sorry. There's a lot of them, and so I get them confused. But our student activity account is the only account that we can spend money on students from that is non-instructional. So let's say a teacher is doing a lab for science and they need supplies. We can buy that out of other funding. But if that same teacher wants to throw a pizza party because their classes had perfect attendance for the last month, then that pizza money or that funding has to come from our student activity account. The only money that can go into student activity accounts is money that is earned by the students. So that means fundraising. Now, you may not realize it, but our dress code is the main source of fundraising for the school. Not only do we require spirit wear for t-shirts and sweatshirts and sweatpants and such, and we make about $5 off of each item that is sold. But then we also turn around and have dress down days, and that's an additional $1 that goes in each Friday from whoever chooses to dress down, which isn't everyone. So that is how that student activities account gets built up throughout the year, is through that fundraising. You may not realize the amount of money that we actually spend out of this account. So not only does a lot of our house activities come from that, but field day does as well. And we spend anywhere from about $2,000 to $3,000 on field day each year. All right, so let's see, let's talk about fundraising a little bit more. We could also do like the candy bar sales and do the wrapping paper, whatever else, you know, those door-to-door sales type things that is oftentimes considered fundraising. The problem is that we allow all of our different clubs and sports teams and activities to use those type of fundraisers throughout the year. And we don't want to compete with them as a school. They have to complete like a fundraising form and information and tell me when it's going to be and how they're going to use it and all of that. And I really try to avoid any two organizations being in competition with each other. So for example, cheerleaders sold candy bars earlier in the year. Archery might sell them later in the year. I wouldn't allow those two fundraisers to overlap because then they're in competition with each other. As a school, we don't want to do lots of individual or smaller fundraisers because then we're going to end up being in competition with one of our sports teams or academic team or something to that effect. So that's why we just kind of do the passive fundraiser throughout the year instead of doing those smaller individual ones. The other thing, there was something else I was going to say. Oh, the other thing is, keep in mind, I know that there are aspects of the dress code that you don't necessarily like. And that's where I would be looking at more of a compromise at this point. So for example, whenever I first started here in 2019, students were not allowed to have holes in their jeans at all. And so one of the changes that I made the following year is that I allowed holes as long as they were out from the knee down. I knew that it was getting tough. I know I've got daughters. I go to the store. I see the clothes that are out there. And so I wanted to try to compromise a little bit. In addition, we were having a lot of problems with kids wearing their hoods, still are. But one of the things that we tried the next year is we had Zoned-in beanies, like the caps, that were created instead. Those didn't go over very well, so we didn't continue to order those, because you have to understand all of the stuff that we buy, we have an inventory of that and we have to carry the inventory cost. So even though we might have sold a lot of spirit wear, we don't always make as much as perhaps we could, because we still have a lot of stuff that's sitting down there not sold at this point. We're getting ready, on a side note, to do a huge end of year clearance sale. So be looking for that. So anyway, that is where we stand. If you have other questions about dress code or fundraising or school finances and law, like there's some really thick books. We've got something called Red Book, and that is basically the Bible for school finance. Every single year I have to sit through a 3-hour meeting where a guy reads me a PowerPoint all about Red Book. Good times. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked at this point. I think that's about it. So if you have other questions, find me at lunch, shoot me an email, ask Miss Joseph, she can get with me as well. And I look forward to seeing what you all come up with. All right, thanks guys. Have a great day.